Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, House of Grace. Ever since I started homeschooling, I've gotten a ton of questions from family and friends about what curriculums we're using, what manipulatives we're using, and all the resources that we've been using this year. So a little bit of a backstory, we started homeschooling last year. We actually started homeschooling midway through the year, so we started in January. So we did our full kindergarten year with my son from January pretty much till May or June. And then this is our first full year doing homeschooling, and I feel much more prepared and much more excited this year. So I just wanted to go through and show you guys all the curriculums that we're using, all of the resources that we're using. So my son is in first grade and we homeschool with classical conversations, and right now he's in foundations. And then my daughter is only 3, so she won't start classical conversations until next year, but we do have a little preschool curriculum for her as well. So if you want to hear all about the curriculums that we're using, then just keep watching. So every day we do math, language arts, and Bible, and then we do our CC memory work, and then we deep dive a couple days a week. One day we'll deep dive into history, one day we deep dive into science, and then another day we'll either do like art, baking, or something along those lines that will deep dive into our foundations curriculum. So I want to start with the most important curriculum first, which in our family is our Bible curriculum. We use this Bible curriculum. And this is from Driven by Grace. It's the foundations of the Bible. So if you are in classical conversations, then you would know that there are 24 weeks in each cycle, but if you're not in classical conversations, you 100% can still use this curriculum. It's so good because right now we're in cycle 3 of our foundations. So each week, it's so great, she breaks it down so that you can complete each weekly lesson in 4 days, which is great because if you are in classical conversations, then you know that you have a community day 1 day a week, and that community day we pretty much do nothing else but community day. We don't do any work at home. So if you just look here, just even on the first week, it gives you the memory sentence, which goes along with classical conversations. So for example, the memory sentence for the first week was, what are the 2 major themes of the Bible? And the answer is who God is and his covenant with man. And you can go onto her website, and she has downloads for the music so that this kids can sing the memory sentence, and it's a great way for them to learn it. But yeah, so it gives you the main passage of the Bible. It tells you which pages to read in the teacher's guide. It tells you which activity that they can do in the activity guide. And then it even shows you some related videos and books. So for example, the first day for this, the main passage was 2 Timothy and 2 Peter. And then it just tells you to read page 14. So you would just go to page 14 in your teacher's guide and read that. And then it even tells you if there are related videos or books. So in this one, the related video was How God Reveals Himself by the Village Church. So we played that video for the kids. And then they can color in the activity book. So for this first week, there's a color and trace, a color page. There's always a crossword, a word search, a double word puzzle, and then a narrative journal. And then there's also a writing prompt, which we didn't do because my son's not really there yet. But it's really cool, and it goes right along with CC. And again, if you're not in classical conversations, you definitely don't have to be to use this. It's so good. We're learning so much. Starting on week 4 or 5, I think it was, it started really diving into the different books of the Bible. So she really pulls out the major themes of that chapter. It also tells you which children's Bibles you can read from. So if you don't want to read from the main Bible, she gives you the passages for these Kingdom of God. Bibles. And then she also gives you which passages to read in the complete illustrated children's Bible. This Bible is super, super good. Definitely recommend. So yeah, so that's our Bible curriculum, and we do that every morning, and that we do as a family. And then we kind of break off a little bit, and I try to work with my son. If my husband's available, he'll hang out with my daughter, or my 3-year-old just kind of joins us in whatever I'm doing with my son for that day. So after Bible, we always go right into language arts, and we are using the Good and the Beautiful as our main language arts curriculum. I absolutely love the Good and the Beautiful. It's 100% open and go. There's like zero prep whatsoever. It even tells you at the end of some lessons, like a heads up, if in a couple lessons there might be something that you need, if you're going to be doing some painting or whatever, it tells you what supplies you'll need so that you're never kind of taken aback by it. I'll show you an example of a lesson that we just did. So right here, they're working on Sneaky E. So there's like this little rainbow ride. We used a little cotton ball as a rainbow, and he read can and then slid it over, and then when the E comes, it makes cane. Yeah, it will tell you like the first thing that we did was work on some reading booster cards. So there's these booster cards that go along with the curriculum, and you use them. It's not one per day, but you have to get up to a specific number before you can start some of the lessons. So you'll be working on 3 or 4 booster cards, and then eventually it will tell you, make sure that you've mastered whatever number booster card before you start this lesson. So right now, these were some of the words that he did today. And it's been really important for my son this year to really take reading off the page, especially with learning words. He really doesn't do well just sitting still trying to read out of a book. So we do a lot of flashcard games, we do tiles, we have him write on the whiteboard, and it's amazing because I can just show him this list of words and he'll tell me that he can't read it. But if I put it on flashcards and have him jump to it, he reads it, no problem. So that's one great thing about homeschooling, is that you can really tailor it to how your child learns. And with my son, especially for language arts, kinesthetic has been really good for him. So that's definitely something that you could look into as well. So these books go along, or these little cards go along with the lessons. So he's been working on these Sneaky E words, and then we did this little Sneaky E lesson. And then there's some spelling words in here that they're working on. And there's like always independent practice. So for here, he was having to fill in each blank with the appropriate word from the blue box. So that was like one of the lessons for language arts. And then also with the language arts curriculum, there's these little booster books. We're on booster B books, and it will tell you in the card, okay, your child's been working on these letters. It's time for you to read this book. So for example, today he read this book, At the Shore, and it goes right along with everything that we've been working on in the lessons. So that's really cool too. So you could definitely just use that as your full language arts curriculum, but when we were doing his evaluation for this year, depending on your state, you will have to do an evaluation every year and submit that to the state if you're homeschooling. She suggested kind of a refresher using the Abeka curriculum for letters and sounds through K-5, and then also letters and sounds 1. So what I've been doing with this is sometimes I'll have him do a page in the K-5 book because it's definitely below the level that he's at, and then that helps him to build some confidence, and then before we move on to the level that he's at. And I find that that's pretty helpful to have him build confidence before reading. So I like this curriculum. I don't like it as much as I love the Good and the Beautiful. Again, I don't have the full curriculum. I just have letters and sounds, K-5 and 1, and then spelling and poetry for 1, which we've only done a couple lessons out of here. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to keep implementing this one. But the pages are cute. He has a good time with them. And you can kind of pick and choose through the pages that are coinciding with the Good and the Beautiful, if that's something that you're interested in. So yeah, so that was Abeka. I've heard great things about Abeka. I just prefer the Good and the Beautiful. And then also with language arts, we have handwriting, which is also from the Good and the Beautiful. I bought level 1 and level 2 for this year. So right now he's on level 1. Today was tracing some letters. There's always tracing. And then there's usually like an art picture for them to do. These are really great. So our other core subject is math. And again, we use the Good and the Beautiful. And it's great. So it also comes with the math manipulatives box, which I love that they put the clock on the front of it, because I actually almost went out and bought a clock, and then when this came in, I was like, oh, it's so cool, there's a clock. I don't even need to get one. But yeah, so it comes with all of these little geometric shapes. It comes with a bunch of clocks, some coins, these little ships that have been used for games, and then a left and right dice and a 1 through 6 dice. So it comes with literally everything you need. Obviously you could get more manipulatives if you wanted to, but it really works so well. So yesterday, for example, the whole lesson was actually a game. So we just used the boats to go through this little river, and he had to do some addition problems, and depending if the number was even or odd, that was how many spaces he would move. And then it will have up here kind of like some things to practice on first. So today it was like draw a circle going clockwise and count by 5s from 5 to 30. And then on this side we reviewed the lesser than, greater than, and equal to signs, some calendar work, and then this was bursting all the bubbles with even numbers with an X. So I love that it really kind of wraps around. You'll do a couple lessons, and then in the review, it will pull back things from a few lessons from before. So it's always kind of reiterating all those things that you've already worked on. This year I got 2 games, the Snowy Owl Subtraction from The Cute and the Beautiful, and also Anteater Edition. So again, just taking that learning off the page is super important. Definitely, it's been a huge game changer for us, and I love doing that. So I definitely recommend getting some games, some tiles, some manipulatives. Even when they're doing adding, you don't even have to spend money on manipulatives. I'll literally use crayons or pom-poms or dry erase markers. Anything you can find around the house can be a math manipulative. You don't need to go out and spend $30, $40, $50 on little cubes or anything like that. So that is our math curriculum, and we absolutely love it. So once we do all that, then we get into our CC memory work. So like I said before, we do classical conversations, and my son is in foundations. So this is the foundations guide that you buy when you start CC, and we are in cycle 3. So I will just show you, we are currently on week 4. And I always set up a board for our CC memory work, and I definitely want to do a whole video just on that. But so for math, we are currently doing the 7s and the 8s, so like counting by 7s, counting by 8s. And then for Latin, we did a couple Latin verbs this week. Science was what are 3 parts of the nervous system, brain, spinal cord, and nerves. We also, for English, did some principal parts. Timeline, so we always have a timeline starting from creation to modern day, and once they learn the whole song, it's about a 15-minute song, and we usually do about 7 timeline cards per week. So for example, this was early Native Americans down to Lhasa, Confucius, and Buddha. And on the back of each card, it will give an explanation. Then for history, we did this week, tell me about the Declaration of Independence. Geography is American history this year, so we're learning states and capitals. So we had Atlanta, Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, Montgomery, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And then the Bible, again, which was list the 66 books of the Bible in order. So we have a Bible song that teaches all the kids all the books of the Bible. So I kind of wanted to show you what we do for our memory work. Last year when we first started, I didn't really know what I was doing, what I was getting myself into, but this year I have a better handle on it for sure. So we've been really doing a lot of visuals for memory work, which has really helped a lot. So I was just talking to you guys about the timeline cards and everything, so I want to show you everything. This is kind of my packet that I make every week for CC memory work. So our awesome director made us these flip books. So we actually have these little flip books that we could bring anywhere, and I actually use them every single day. And it shows you all the information that you need for the week that you're in. These are the timeline cards that I was talking about. So there's 7 of them that we have each week. This is what it looks like on the front, and then there's a little excerpt on the back that kind of explains it. I forgot that I kind of put together for week 5. So I was talking about week 4, but this is week 5. cards. So these timeline cards are awesome. I keep them in these little binders, and I put the cover, because there's 4 packets, I put the cover here, and then I divide them into these little protector sleeves, and then each week I just take out what we're going to be learning for that week, and then I put the rest away, and that's a really good way to stay organized. But I like hanging these on our whiteboard so that it's more of a visual, so that when he's singing the song he can kind of see what we're singing, and then if he is interested in one of the photos on the front, I can read him the information on the back. And I have these little cards for history and then also for science that I hang up on our whiteboard, and it's just another way for them to really get that information in. And in classical conversations and foundations, every song is sung 7 times. So each piece of grammar is put into a song, and then they sing that song 7 times each day for the week. And it helps them memorize the song. There's hand motions to some of it, and yeah, it really helps them get everything into their brain. It sounds kind of crazy if you don't do classical conversations, but it really, really, really works. Counting by 9s and counting by 10s. So again, this is all week 5. And I always write out our Latin and our English. I bought the maps this year, which I highly recommend if you're in classical conversations to buy the placemat maps. This is really great. So my son, as the song is playing, he'll point out the state and the capital. So it's just, again, another visual, and then he's learning where all these states and capitals are instead of just singing them and not really knowing what he's singing. So this has been really helpful, and I love doing this with him, and he's actually grasping it so much quicker than I thought he would. And then this is actually a chart that Driven by Grace put together. So I mentioned before that we will deep dive into either history, 1 day a week, science another day of the week. So when you deep dive into history, week 3, we did the Boston Tea Party. And it was really cool because on the Classical Conversations e-magazine, it gave a little activity that you could do for the kids where you gave them chocolate chips, but you know, taxed them on it. So if they were wearing green, they had to give you 2 chocolate chips. If they were had shoes on, 4 chocolate chips, whatever it was. It kind of gave them a better understanding of what was happening during the Boston Tea Party and why everyone was so upset about that tax. But Driven by Grace came up with these this chart, which will show you which story to read in the Story of the World books. So we have these for history. I love these books. Growing up, I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely 100% hated history. It was my least favorite subject. I still, as an adult, have a reoccurring nightmare, and I'm not going to graduate high school because I'm failing history. Which I never failed history, but I just did not like it. I could never memorize all the dates. I didn't really know why all we were doing is just memorizing dates and these generals and these wars, like who cares, right? This really tells it like a story, and if somebody would have taught me history like this growing up, I would have been so much more interested in history. So I highly recommend these books. You can do them as early as foundations. I just read these aloud as my kids are playing, and they'll just soak the information in. And then as they get older, they can obviously just read the stories themselves. So again, so like for the Boston Tea Party, book 3, chapter 22, she put in here which story you can read to them, and they're not very long, the stories, and they're just such good books. If you're doing any kind of classical education, even if it's not classical conversations, I highly recommend getting these books. They're so, so good. And then for my daughter, which she's only 3, she's not going to be 4 until February, so I don't push this curriculum really at all. Some days she's interested in it, and other days she wants nothing to do with it. And in all honesty, we've only done like 3 or 4 lessons so far. But I did this curriculum with my son during COVID when like everything was shut down. We did the Good and the Beautiful preschool curriculum. It's actually come a long way. It comes with way more things than it did when my son was younger. Very open and go. It should really not take you more than 10 minutes to do a lesson. If your child wants to spend more than 10 minutes, then great, go for it. But with preschool 3s and 4-year-olds, definitely don't force it. Just go at their own pace, let them play. You can play the ABC songs and the number songs and all the things that are in the curriculum as they're playing, and they'll get that information. And then there's these practice sheets, which didn't come with this when my son was younger. So this is really cool. It comes with the practice sheets, and then it comes with the folder activities. So there's a bunch of games in here that you can play that'll tell you throughout the lesson when you should play the games. So it's our main curriculum. Again, we use the Good and the Beautiful for reading, language arts, math, handwriting. We do foundations with classical conversations for our memory work. Okay, so I just wanted to show you some other things that we find super helpful during the day. I bought these letter tiles. They're really cool. I like using these as manipulatives during reading. They can sound it out. Rub. So it's just another way to take reading off the page. And I find it really helpful to help with the blending of the sounds, and that they can say the sounds slowly as they're moving the tiles, and it really helps them put the words together instead of just going they can kind of go rub. So those are really, really helpful for language arts. And then also, like I said before, we'll make a bunch of flashcards and just put them around the room, and we have the kids do frog hops, or this morning my daughter was taking the cards and hiding them for my son, and then he would have to go find them and he would read them, and that was kind of a good way to incorporate my daughter into the lesson because she was really interested in doing some schoolwork. Well, she's obviously only 3, so she's not going to be reading the words, but she had fun hiding them for her brother. Another thing I bought for this year was my blend in word book, and that's from Rebecca. It starts out with letters, so just blending these sounds together. Again, it's just another way for them to learn how to sound out the words a little bit better than just saying like ba, and then you could eventually have a G for bug or whatever it is. I bought the pack of the I Learned to Read books, so my son can work on those too. We also really love the Bob books. We have set 1 and 2. I have to get the next set, but these are super helpful. They have tons of sight words in them. And then another couple of things that we have that you definitely don't need, but I just think that they're cool or a lot of fun. We love this Bible reader, and it's from My Father's World, and it's really cool because it starts off really easy, and then it just progressively gets harder as the kids learn to read more and more. And I think it's really cool. I'm gonna save this for my son and give it to him when he gets older, that it was his first Bible, because there's also coloring pages. So he writes things at the bottom and then he colors them. So I just think it'd be really cool when he's older to give this to him as a gift that he can keep as a keepsake for his first Bible. I guess I should say his first Bible that he read, because he's had Bibles before, but this is the first one that he's reading himself. Another Bible that I recommend is the Adventure Bible. This one's really good. It's the legit Bible, not just stories. So, and it has a lot of prompts. It's a really good Bible. For the Complete Illustrated Children's Bible, this one's great. We have the Kingdom of God, Old Testament and New Testament. These are really cool too. The Little Pilgrim's Big Journey, such good books. Again, we have the first and second one. We still need to get the third one, but that would be a great read aloud as well. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found some things that maybe you want to incorporate into your homeschool day routine, or even if you don't homeschool, just things that you can incorporate at home for some extra learning. Just let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions or if there's anything in particular you want to see. I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.